Hello and welcome to All Four Wins Football. We are back. It is episode 9 of Lower League Lingo. What a journey it's been. And we're back to the FA Cup, which is absolutely wonderful news. So we're going to have a little look at what's been going on all the way around the lower leagues in the FA Cup and the Northern Premier, apparently, but mostly the FA Cup. So it's going to be great fun. As ever, I've got my usual panel, the gruesome twosome themselves. Mr. John Foster, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, good, thank you. What a great weekend. Loads of messages on Sunday night with all the results, so can't wait to talk about some of them today.
Absolutely that. And of course, Gareth, how are you doing, young man? All well?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So let's dive straight in, shall we, chaps, with our look at this week's lower league football. And as you can see, we started in the Northern Premier with Sporting Calcer against Hull. Now, it was an interesting one. We were generally going to go for an FA Cup weekend, which is obviously a really good opportunity to showcase a lot of the teams that are a bit lower down in the league. You know, that's kind of why we call ourselves Lower League Lingo. But there is a reason, I believe, Mr. John, why you felt that this one would supersede any of the Giants killings in the FA Cup. So defend yourself, Jonathan. How has the Northern Premier returned to Lower League Lingo on FA Cup weekend?
Well, my second game is an FA Cup game, but yeah, look at this game. It was a battle between two clubs at the bottom of Tier 3 South, and it was an amazing game. I think four things came into my head when it was on Sunday night when I saw that result. I'm hearing the word historic because it was Calcer's first win in Tier 3. I'm thinking things along the lines of puts the cat amongst the pigeons. I'm thinking shockwaves. And I'm thinking about Tier 3 being wide open again in regards to the relegation battle. So yeah, going into this game, Calcer hadn't played any of the bottom three teams. We spoke about that on this channel before. And the moment that they do, they win 4-0. And I, for one, wasn't overly surprised because Calcer's managed to score against Wolves, they scored against Derby, they scored against Feds, scored against Rugby. So they're showing that they can actually score goals. The problem is they've been up against some fantastic teams so far and haven't been able to actually win any games. And let's not forget, some of these players have been together for a long time and they've won Tier 4, so they're here on merit. So just a little bit of news as well. Their star striker, Neve DC, actually left Calcer in the week. So Calcer was without one of their main forwards. So she's gone back to her hometown club, Sutton Coldfield. So you think that, if you didn't know too much about the club, Calcer, bottom of the league, no points, lost the star striker. What's going to happen? Well, they ended up winning 4-0. Hull, going into this game, reminded me a little bit of Stourbridge last season. Got a few points on the board early. Won West Bromwich Albion. Won the teams around them. So Hull already had points on the board. And I think, people probably thought the Hull would almost run away with this. I think the thing that surprised me the most is the amount of goals. 4. I wasn't expecting it to be a 4-0. Maybe a bit of a tighter game than that. Calcer made 4 changes going into this game. The goalkeeper, Eloise Stocking, came back. Smith and Kennelly came back, and their captain, Megan Can, came back as well. So obviously bolstered their starting 11 there. And Hull did have their chances in the 30th minute, 60th minute, and a scramble in the box in the 76th minute. Could have saw 3 chances there be put away, but it was a 4 goals of Emily Brett early on. Annabelle Davies in the second half to make it 2-0 at half time. Laurie Walker and Laura Smith getting the 4 goals there. So lots of heads turning on Sunday. Definitely people are looking over the shoulder again and realising Calcer are actually in the mix here. And rightly so. I think they've been unfairly criticised this season. I know that you'll put the league table up shortly, Barry, so I won't go into too much detail. But Hull's still looking good. They're 8th in the league. So, regarding the relegation side of things, there's still 4 teams below them. And Calcer are now equal on points with Stourbridge. So, yeah, lot of games, lots of twists and turns to come. and I think there'll be a bit of movement in the next couple of weeks as well.
That's the beautiful thing about football, isn't it? There's always movement around the leagues, which is what we like to see. And you're right, it was a very big one. As you can see, in order to make up for the just atrocity that was last week, where we just literally copied some off a full time, whacked them up there, and went, there you go. As you can see, I've made an effort here, additional to what we normally do. So you've got the green and the red. The last time we looked at the Northern Premier properly, it was 6 games gone. And as you can see now, the vast majority have played 9. And Nottingham Forest still top of the table, looking incredibly good value, the only team not to lose as yet in the Northern Premier. Plus 37 goal difference, 23 points, loving life. But Wolves are running them close. Obviously, they've got a loss to their name, which Nottingham Forest did not, hence why they are struggling ever so slightly in that one. Rugby Borough and Burnley dropping down a bit. Stoke amongst our big movers. Hull City, obviously, still just about on their way up. This is from the game 6, not obviously from the last one. Hull haven't somehow managed to go up places whilst losing the game. But the big one really is right there at the bottom, as we saw. Sporting Council were the only side in the Northern Premier that had 0 points. And that win has given Halifax a little bit of a bloody nose there, putting them to the bottom, and has dragged Stourbridge ever so slightly closer to that relegation zone. I'm not sure, Gareth, what you had on the book as to how long it would be until John mentioned the word Stourbridge, but it was something like 3 minutes 30. So,
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I was at. Any opportunity, eh?
It's got to come. It's got to come a bit later as well. Mark my words. In fact, it might come twice later.
we should have to start running a book on how many times he's going to do it next. But there you go, just add a bit of variety to it. Our next game, as you can see now, we've entered the FA Cup, and that is it. Now that we've arrived at the FA Cup, that is where we stay. It was the 3rd qualifying round, boys and girls. The 3rd qualifying round, which was massive, because if you win it, you're in the first round proper. Now, I can remember one of the first games that I went to watch for Stevenage was a qualifying FA Cup match. And they're always treated, nobody really cares because it's the qualifying round. Nobody really paying any attention unless you are one of those sort of grassroots or one of those real lower league, non-league type people. And this is the same position for the Women's Football League, because as you sit there and you look at your WSL and your Championship, none of them are really paying too much attention what's happening in the FA Cup at the moment. WNL clubs, though, at this point, start sniffing around. They start having a little look like, oh, what's going on down there then? Who might possibly be coming up to try and knock us out? And the answer to the question is some of the teams that we're going to be mentioning over the next 5 games. And I've managed to do this quite well. We've done just north, middle, south, in the general gist of it. So, Gareth, you've had to switch around and go into the Midlands part due to the fact that we had to start with young Jonathan. So, as you can see, he's chosen Nantwich and Solihull Moors. Now, it's been a bit of a woeful start for Solihull Moors. Easy for me to say. In general, with all of the news that's been going on around them, why in particular did this one catch your eye?
So this caught my eye really because of the kind of gulf in terms of league positions between the two sides. So Solihull Moors, as we know, there's been a lot of kind of media attention around them this season, kind of negative media attention. And there's been an awful lot of kind of player movement, etc., managerial movements. So they're not in a hugely great place at the moment. Nantwich Town are mid-table in Tier 7. They are currently, having only played 3 games, 5th in the league, 1-2, lost 1, 5th out of 9 in that league. So the gap between where these two teams sit in the pyramid is massive. However, Nantwich at home, Solihull backs against the walls. I think my understanding is that they had some players missing as well, and Nantwich were able to go and get a result, and They were able to take on Solihull and beat them. And they went 1-0 down, and I think often teams in this position where you're playing against a side that's leagues above could maybe fold and kind of come within themselves a little bit. But Nantwich kept going, and they got that equaliser kind of around half time, and then they came out in the second half relatively quickly, took the lead, and it was only a late consolation for Solihull, really. So, a tier 7 side in the Cheshire Women and Youth Premier Division have gone up against National League opposition and have beaten them. And yeah, we know that Solihull have issues off the pitch at the moment, but that takes nothing away from what Nantwich have achieved. And you know, there were only 9 players available for Solihull this weekend, so there is that asterisk against kind of their performance. Would this have happened if they had a full strength squad? Who knows? It doesn't matter because they're out of the FA Cup, and Nantwich have been rewarded with another set of National League opposition. They will go away to Huddersfield, who are in the Division 1 North. So, knock out one set of National League opposition, and then you come up against another one. And I think the thing to highlight here is there has been increased prize money in the Women's FA Cup now, and I'm not entirely sure what round Nantwich came in. Probably the first qualifying round, but these results have earned that club over £9,000, which is going to be a huge chunk of their budget for this season, if not the entire budget for this season. So that will pay for probably a lot of pitch hire, equipment, kits, etc. And so, yeah, these teams in the lower league do not necessarily rely on the money from FA Cups runs, but it can make a massive difference to them. So I'm super pleased for Nantwich, and I look forward to seeing what they do against Huddersfield in the first round.
Absolutely, that fair points all round on that one. And yes, congratulations to Nantwich Town, the Dabbers. Kind of need to give it one of those, don't you? I think for that one. I can't quite believe I've just done that in public, but there we are. It's my go next, and we're off to Hartingford Park. Now, what a game this turned out to be, and it caught my eye for a multitude of reasons. But Hertford Town, they're in the Division 1 North Eastern region, so same as the Stevenage Reserves are in at the moment. And they were up against a team in the London and South East Division 1 North, so both tier 6 sides in Hackney. But it really caught my eye because Hackney have had, over the course of the last few years, some rotten luck. Like, they have had, I can remember them being not just bottom of their league, I'm sure they were in the WNL, but they were having just an atrocious time of it. They had over a plus 100 goal difference negative. Weren't able to get teams together to go out and play. Eventually, I think they had to withdraw. They really, really struggled over the years. And this season, as I say, they've moved into the London and South East Regional with having a slightly sort of better year. That they've had a couple of wins out of the 5 games that they've played, only on the 6 points. They're sort of just about keeping away from the relegation spots whilst not quite troubling the rest of the league. So Hackney are not necessarily a side that you would look at immediately and think, oh, do you know what? These guys are going to do incredibly well. But equally, when you start to look over at how Hertford Town have been doing, they're in 3rd place as it stands at the moment. Sorry, they're not in Division 1 North, they're in Division 1 South, I'll tell a lie. But they are 3rd. in their division and really not doing too bad. They're only 6 points off of Southend United Ladies at the top of their league. And if they win their 3 games in hand, they will go top. So they're the only side at the moment that are not that have not lost in their league. So they're having a really good season. Whereas you've got little old Hackney here, just sort of struggling to survive and sort of almost living hand to mouth. And they've just absolutely gone and nailed this. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the scoring went on this one, but you've only got to look at the minutes that Hackney did manage to score in for you to sit there and realise that this would have been 2-2 and on the verge of going to penalties. Ruth Caney, obviously only interested in netting goals right at the very end of halves, gets the first one in the 45th there for her, but 90 plus 3. And from the last time we did the FA Cup, chaps, I am absolutely all over these last minute winners. They just, to me, it's the magic of the cup. It's like there is no better feeling than getting to the next round or winning a trophy in the last minute, even if the previous 90 odd have given you, several heart failures, and lots of problems. So for me, amazing to see Hackney do as well as they have here to win the match. Absolutely superb. They've got a couple of people booked as well, but for them, they're just going to be absolutely delighted. And it's a tough one for them. They haven't got far to go as they face London Seaward in the first round. London Seaward, again, quite a good side in the WNL. So it's going to be a bit of a jump for them. Might be a step too far. But, as we always say, you've got to be in it to win it. And on this occasion, Hackney are. So absolutely felt they deserved a little bit of a shout out there because they had a lot of negative press in terms of the fact that they've not been as successful as they could be for them. We spoke about the money just then, Gareth, that you're mentioning again for these guys could be a vital little cash injection to help see them through and hopefully to bounce back and become a bit of a force once again. Their badge says playing with pride. And absolutely, I think they've done that. So well done, Hackney. Very, very impressed. It's over, I believe, once again, to young Jonathan. Now, if our channel owner, Mr. Connor, is watching, he'll be absolutely delighted because he's a bit of a Worcester City buff with regards to these things. But it's your turn today, John. So talk us through this one. Why did this match tickle your pickle?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for both of these teams. Worcester more so. Obviously got promoted last year, and I just feel that they're doing a lot of things right off the pitch. And I think since August, once the season's pretty much started, their social media's picking up really well as well. So it's nice just to check in on Worcester every now and again just to see how their story is going. And I'm glad that the Worcester Twitter is actually on form because there isn't any information on FA full time on this game, unfortunately. And Reddish Borough, being tier 6, haven't even got a Twitter account, I believe. So I think they've got a Facebook group somewhere. So I was a little bit stuck in getting some sort of the information, but I have got enough. But what I would say is that the attendance 217. I don't know if you've got that on there. No, you haven't. Which is again another great attendance for this club, 217, which is something that they're pretty much averaging week in, week out, no matter who they're against. So for a newly promoted Tier 4 team to have that kind of fan base with no backing from a men's team is really good. Worcester had a strong starting 11. Jess Fastnage is their captain. She always is a captain, and she played in this game along with Liv Mitchum, one of their star strikers, who played up front. And 2-0 didn't disgrace either team. Worcester obviously is a team that you'd expect to win because they're 2 leagues higher or 2 tiers higher. But it took a long time for them to get started in regards to goals. And I think Reddish Borough can hold their heads high, only losing 2-0 against a National League side. And it was on the 78th minute where Liv Mitchum took the lead with a header. And then 12 minutes of stoppage time, as you can see on there. Holly Congrave I suppose put Reddish Borough out to the misery, and maybe the fans out the misery after 12 minutes of stoppage time. So just all in all, what I would say is a good spectacle. Just a little bit on Reddish Borough because they are in Tier 6. They have took my eye this season, and I feel that when you're looking at teams a little bit low down that aren't really mainstream, I think teams take your eye more when something big happens or when somebody joins a club. And in this case, David Healy has joined. David was part of the Solihull Moors management setup when he was a manager back in 2020 when Solihull Moors was actually at the top of that league, and he's flourished ever since. Pretty much everywhere he's gone, he's done a great job, and he's got a good name for himself. So much so, he's been able to bring in several good players to Tier 6. You know, you're talking about Calcer players, Stourbridge players. You know, you got Catherine Pagan there. If you're from the area, you'll know Catherine Pagan of Calcer is a fantastic player. Tier 3, obviously, now got them promoted. Katie Box, goalkeeper from Stourbridge, Birmingham Academy, Grace Murphy. He's managed to bring in some real good quality players there who aren't at the end of they're not at the end of their career. They're just going there for him and the project. So, you know, I just wanted to give Redditch a bit of props there because they're sitting third in Tier 6. They have got games in hand, so if they win their games in hand, they will be top. And you never know, they might be meeting some bigger name clubs next season.
Sounds good. And to be fair, John, lovely to see a couple of other Midlands clubs getting their flowers here as well. That's exactly what we're after, and a big fan of hearing about both those. And I mean, Connor always tells me you can certainly tell me more about this, but the Worcester ground is what he tells me. Tell me a little bit about that ground for a tier. What tier did you say they were?
Tier 4 Worcester. So they got promoted last year, and even though I was in Tier 5 last year, I was there on International Women's Day, where they secured promotion. I believe it was against Knoll. So again, it wasn't against a big named team, and there were hundreds there. And I appreciate it was a Friday night, International Women's Day, so there was a little bit extra. But it's just such a great atmosphere, and it's 6 ways. So it's the old rugby stadium, 4-sided stadium. They managed to get like the one side not full, but you know, very good attendance levels. But it's just a good atmosphere as well. You know, you got a clubhouse there that obviously sells your drinks and food. You've got someone great there on the tannoy who's fantastic. You've got club mascots. You've got basically just like the children's, the junior sections with pom pom singing. It's just a proper family atmosphere, and no wonder they draw the fans in, and they're just doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, I do like it when you go to a proper stadium for the women's game. And I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, like your Old Traffords and all that sort of thing. But like you say, a nice 4-sided stadium where, you know, there's a lot going on. They've got their own cafe, for example. They've got their own burger bar, that sort of thing. Yeah, love that sort of thing. So there we go. Very good. I digress, but I digressed with Gareth last week, so I thought I'd better digress with you this week. Speaking of Gareth, here you are, young man. You definitely picked the one for possibly the most one-sided tie of the FA Cup. I don't know. I haven't looked at every single result. But this be a thumping, Gaza.
Yes. Yeah, it was great. I think Wythenshawe have aspirations this season to be promoted into the WNL next season. Currently top of the North West Regional League. And so sides like Barnsley, who are mid-table sides in the WNL Division 1, are sides that will prove a really good test. And last season, at the same stage, the third qualifying round, Barnsley, we got the exact same draw at home, and Barnsley ran out winners that time, knocking us out of the FA Cup. So fast forward a year, and it's the exact same tie at the exact same stage of the competition, and this is the result. Wythenshawe were the better side from in the first minute of the game. We forced a really good save from the Barnsley keeper. We hit the post, and so we could have been 1-0 up inside the first minute. And genuinely, we maintained that pressure throughout the game. It got a bit scrappy, but Zoe Stewart's goal on 31 minutes. I think I timed it. We won the ball back, and 15 seconds later, Zoe scored. It was cleared by the keeper, and Zoe from inside the centre circle scored to give us the lead. And then we came out fast from the second half again, started quickly, and ran with it. Barnsley had some players suspended. They had some players unavailable. They were kind of forced down to. Um, they ended up sort of having some injury issues as well during the game. Um, but but by the time those happened, we were 3-4 nil up. So I think by the time that they had the injuries, the game was in a good position for us, and it's exactly the kind of performance that is going to really allow us to test ourselves and see where we're at ready for next season. The next round will do that as well. We've got Middlesbrough at home, so another home tie in the FA Cup, which is great. So hopefully we can get a big attendance down this time for that. But I think ultimately the most important thing from the day is the collection for Wythenshawe Food Bank, and between both teams, because Barnsley Supporters Club, their players, their staff all made kind of really generous donations. We were able to collect over 550 items for the local food bank. So, aside from the football, Wythenshawe are a community club, and it was really nice to be able to, first of all, put on a fantastic footballing performance, but also give something back to the community when we've got the opportunity to.
No, absolutely fair play and fair point. And you brought this up as your match to watch last week, and turns out it absolutely was not just a great game of football, but wonderful to see the community action taking place too. So again, well done Wythenshawe on that one, through to the first round. So the final game obviously falls on me to talk about. And for a reason, I quite like the FA Cup, because it's allowed me to encroach. Generally, I look after the south of England, it appears, all by myself. Never have I seen John drop into the Southern Premier with any of his Midlands teams just yet. It's absolutely fine.
I'm trying with Cheltenham, but I get told off if I mention Cheltenham too much, so I'm holding back a little bit.
Never mind. But very, very good, because I've been able to encroach, because you've got Dewsondown and Hellerston, which is, of course, a southern team, but they were up against Newport Pagnell of the East Midlands Regional League. And oh my goodness, what a game this ended up being. So, again, a little bit of background. Dewsondown and Hellerston were in Tier 6 last season. They won the Eastern Region Division 1 North, definitely the North this time, and did incredibly well in that league. Walked it. Absolutely walked it. They did incredibly well. Got themselves up into the Eastern Region Premier, which is, of course, Tier 5. And they're sort of there or thereabouts in terms of the relegation battle, but fighting hard to try and stay up. And, it's always tough when you're a newly promoted side. Got to try and allow yourself that ability to become a mainstay in the league. And that's exactly what Dewsondown and Hellerston are trying to do. Newport Pagnell, on the other hand, perhaps would be fair to say, not having the season of their life. But they got 2 points so far out of the games that they've played. They've lost one of them for fielding an ineligible player, and it's not been the best start ever. They are literally at the moment only just above the relegation zone, and that's because Bugbrook St Michael have conceded a lot more goals effectively than them. So it's not the world's best start for Newport Pagnell, and it doesn't necessarily bode well for them. But when you start to look at this football match again, boys, I don't know what it is, but I'm finding these absolute crackers, and I love them. So let's go through it, shall we? Because that's what we're here for. Because Kelsey Mugford, as you see there, kicks them off. Brilliant. 1-0 up. Newport Pagnell absolutely flying. Really happy. 2 minutes later, I can't tell you which one it was, because they couldn't be bothered to tell me what time it was on there. So one of them three, either Rachel and A or Holly, equalised. It was 1-1 after 5 minutes. So 2 minutes later, it's 1-0 already. We thought we were going to do well. Is it going to start getting into their heads? Are they going to be a little bit worried? No, because after 12 minutes, Courtney Brigg, boom, 2-1. Newport Pagnell back ahead, Dusendale. Oh no, what's going on? Newport Pagnell, come on the girls. Off we go. Having a big old fight, but 34 minutes later, or 34 minutes later, 34 minutes gone. And then a corner comes in and Dusendale have equalised. Again, one of those three. Couldn't tell you which one. So it's 2-2. They're going at half time. Level 2-2. You can imagine the two team talks. Dusendale, it's there for you girls. Just go out there and take it. Newport Pagnell, nothing to lose, girls. Get out there, see what you can do. Well, Dusendale reacted first. 3-2 to them. Now all of a sudden, Newport Pagnell, not entirely sure what to do. 67 minutes gone and they're losing. Is it all going to end the way that it normally does? Of course it's not. I wouldn't have picked it otherwise. Plus, you can see. So it's not really that exciting in that respect. But Rachel Mumford, after 72 minutes, levels it up. And the reason why you have to bring this out is because you don't get extra time at this level of the FA Cup. So if this is 3-3 at the end of the 90 minutes, straight to penalties. And that's freaky because you sort of sit there and that's a big thing. Usually you go, do you know what, we've got another 30 minutes. We can try and swing this back around. This is a straight up. If the final whistle goes, might as well toss a coin because anything can happen. And on this occasion, Newport Pagnell were not having it. 95th minute, Jasmine Spence steps up, whacks the ball into the back of the net, and they win the game 4-3, which is just absolutely outstanding. And as you know, I like to try and knit things together in a nice little bow where I can, and I failed dismally the last time we had the FA Cup. But the last time we had the FA Cup, I highlighted Bungay Town, if you remember, and they did incredibly well. They were up against Royston Town, which was the other team that I had decided to cover, and they ended up playing each other. Well, you're not going to believe it, guys, but Royston Town smashed Bungay 6-0. You probably would believe that because I did say that was probably where Bungay's luck would end up. But guess who Newport Pagnell have got in the next round? Royston Town. So there we go. And do you know what? Genuinely, I don't pick these things. I'd picked this before the draw came out. And when I read it this afternoon, I was like, well, you can't write it. So there's some sort of divine thing going on here. Maybe it's that I'm supposed to talk more about Royston. I don't know. But there we go. So nicely tied up. And again, congratulations to Newport Pagnell. Will it be their last time? My gut says probably, but what a moment. They made it to the first pound proper for the first time in their history. And that is absolutely something to be proud of. So well done, Newport Pagnell of the East Midlands Regional League. John, have you got a game that we should all be looking out for?
Yeah, one of them's a tier 6 team and one of them is a tier 7 team. But I think we should definitely be looking out for it because it's being played at Walsall Football Stadium, the Banksy's or Bescott Stadium, Poundland Stadium. I don't know what it's called these days. Call it whatever you want, just off the junction 10 M6. But yeah, it's a county cup game. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for Gordon Athletic. So Gordon's playing away to Walsall FC Women in the County Cup. And over the summer, I was invited down to Gordon Athletic because they held a bit of an open day for their junior section. And Craig Colburn is the director there. He invited me down and he managed to get hold of Evie and Liv Rabjohn. Obviously, one of those plays for Man United, one of them plays for West Bromwich Albion. And it was nice just to see that them trying to push their junior section. And it's nice to see today that they're actually going to be playing at that stadium. I believe they've sold over 200 tickets already.
Nice.
So this is a tier 6, tier 7 team going head to head. So yeah, that'll be nice just to keep an eye on. It's a Friday night as well, so it doesn't clash with anything else apart from work, or else I would have been there. But yeah, it doesn't clash with any other game, so that will hopefully get a few more fans down. So good luck to that occasion. It's nice to see.
Absolutely. His work goes in with quite a lot. It's really funny going into our group chat to try and work out what night we're going to be doing it. But next week, it's Gareth causing me problems, not John. So we shall see. We'll be looking for a northern representative for next week. Nobody could replace you, Gareth. So, but what match should we be looking out for next weekend, or this weekend, rather?
So I'm pushing the definition of northern, and I'm going with a Northern Premier League side. FA Women's National League Northern Premier Division side, because it's FAWNL Cup weekend. So I'm going with Forest against Peterborough, because Peterborough performing really well in the Division 1 Midlands, coming up against Forest, who are performing really well in the Division 1 North. Two teams with some good players, and yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting cup tie. And with it being County Cup weekend, there kind of wasn't a huge amount jumping out to me with kind of any of the local county cups. So yeah, that's the one for me. So Forest against Peterborough, kind of getting on John's region a little bit, but you've done it today already. So
Do you know what? To me, anything north of Watford Gap is northern. So I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's northern. But there are a bunch of Midlanders at the moment sitting there with curled fists at the screen going, that's not northern.
It's a good job I'm not in the country next week, isn't it? So I can be
Exactly,
free from it.
So brilliant stuff. And my one was also a WNL Cup second round match, and it jumped out at me immediately, which I would imagine when I mention the two teams, it will do for you as well. But those two teams are Ipswich Town at home to # United. And it's huge. Like Ipswich are third in their league at the moment with 2 games in hand on 17 points. # are top of the table, the Southern Premier, with 22 points. Ipswich know if they win both their games in hand, they go top. # are sat there. It would only be a point difference if that happens. The two of them are clearly, at this moment in time, the favourites, I think, for there. Oxford United are doing their very best to hang in there, but it's going to be tricky for them, as it is for Exeter City as well. But for me, for a WNL Cup match, that's the one everyone's going to be turning their head to. What will happen between the two giants of the Southern Premier this season, Ipswich Town and #? I don't know, but what I do know is that we're probably going to talk about it next week, because that is massive, and it means I don't have to do a league. So, that would absolutely save me a tiny bit of work on that one. So there we go. That's what we're going to do. It's been a little bit longer today, but I don't mind that on FA Cup weekend, because my goodness, it has been an unbelievable weekend. Congratulations to everybody that's through. You can find the draw on the FA Cup website. Just the FA website would work. Have a look, see if there's one near you. It's definitely worth going to. It's November the 3rd. It's that weekend. So get it in your diary now. Go and get yourself to watch a Women's FA Cup match. I guarantee you are really, you must be the unluckiest person in the world if you go to one of these FA Cup matches and come away not being entertained. It's been brilliant. John, as ever, thank you very much for joining us. Gareth, enjoy your gallivanting away. Do send us a postcard.
Will definitely.
And to you guys watching, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, do all of those things, and we will see you next week when we turn 10. Amazing. See you later.